الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الحديث الثاني والثلاثون حدثنا أبو بكر محمد بن عبد الله بن العربي المعافري حدثنا عبد الوهاب بن علي عرف بن سكين وحدثنا عبد الوهاب إجازة عن عبد المنعم بن عبد الكريم القشيري عن أبيه قال سمعت أبا عبد الرحمن السلمي يقول وسألت عن الإخلاص فقال سمعت علي بن سعيد وأحمد بن محمد وسألتهم عن الإخلاص قال سمعنا علي بن إبراهيم الشقيقي وسألناه عن الإخلاص فقال سمعت محمد بن جعفر الخصاف وسألت عن الإخلاص فقال سمعت أحمد بن يسار فقال سألت أحمد بن يسار عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت أبا يعقوب الشرائطي عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت أحمد بن غسان عن الإخلاص قال سألت عبد الواحد بن زيد عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت الحسن عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت حذيفة عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سألت جبريل عليه السلام قال سألت رب العزة عن الإخلاص ما هو قال سر من سري استودعته قلب من أحببت من عبادي.
32nd Hadith. When questioned about purity, ikhlas, Hudayfa said, I asked the Messenger of God about purity, and he said, I asked Gabriel about it, and he said, I asked the Lord of Might concerning purity, and he replied, Secret of my secret, which I entrust to the heart of the one whom I love among my servants.
This, you have it partially musalsal. I think it has been had complete tasalsul till our time. There's one of the unique person mentioned here is Al-Qushayri, the father of, the name, his name is Abdul Karim Al-Qushayri. This is the author of Al-Risala Al-Qushayriya. His Sheikh Abu Abd al-Rahman Sulami is a famous man who has Tabaqat Sufi and other books. Then about the material mentioned there, Sirrun. They said that for the non-physical or unseen organs inside ourselves, all of us, we have 4 different names. Are they for the same category or for different items? You have some controversy, but the outcome of it, you have the 4 items. You have al-qalb, you have al-sir, you have al-ruh, and you have al-nafs. Okay. When the famous man was asked about al-aql, he said, this is the storage of thoughts. Okay, khizanatul afkar. And this is the reality about the aql. The aql is not applicable here. You have the 4 different items. What are these items? The sir, I look at it as hotline between anyone and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of us, they tend to make this hotline, has a lot of interference and a lot of bad connection by different bad habits. Okay. Then you have a ruh, which is whenever you are going to have input from the angel side, it's going to be through the ruh. Then you have the nafs, the self, and this is whenever the shaitan want to put anything against your teaching or whatever, it's going to be through the nafs. Some may ask, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create the nafs since it's that bad? It's not that bad originally. Okay? If I don't have my nafs, I don't feel hungry to eat, I don't feel thirsty to drink, and by this I'm not going to survive. Originally it is needed, necessary. When I give it much more than its importance, it's going to be as harmful as you have it physically. The one who got really obese, in this life, he may have hypertension, he may have diabetes, he may have osteoarthritis, and you name it. And in the same pattern, whenever you have this nafs has this overreaction, on the man is going to be like a slave, like a servant to this particular nafs, and behind it always is going to be the shaitan. Then you have the heart, as I said before. The heart is the decision maker. Okay, and here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala related the sincerity and ikhlas to the secret or to the sir, which is the hotline from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to anyone, really you feel it, among the people. Namely, you find some people, they have the main concern, about anything regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have another believer or another Muslim, they don't care a lot, about it. You try to find the difference, you are incapable of finding the difference. The second one may be much more highly educated. He may be much more high practitioner or whatever, and by this, you see that the first one, he has his hot line quite connected to Allah subhanahu, and is good receiver, of all of these data, come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is going to be real lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is going to be according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to make it too complicated, okay? You have 4 items, take care of them, You have the sir, this is the hotline to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have the ruh, and when you increase the quality of it, you are going to be good receiver, of many messages given to you by angels, You have the nafs. Originally, it is essential, when it abuse, you may have the shaitan come through it, to dictate many matters, on you, and then you have the heart is the decision maker, okay? Here you have an ikhlas, sincerity. For sincerity, you have theory and you have practice, okay? The theory, when you read Surah Al-Zumar, and try to understand it verse by verse, you are going to enrich yourself in your knowledge of ikhlas. When you are not that good, about it, or you are good, and you want something extra, you should repetitively have Qul Huwallahu Ahad. This is Surah Al-Ikhlas, and this is when you have it as a zikr, repeated, and this has been mentioned by the Prophet about repeating it 10 times or 20 times or 50 times or 1,000 times or more or less, okay? You are going to improve this sir between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The angel relation, I think this is, in my mind, I'm not telling you this is the only case that you have it, You may improve this relation, by what I have mentioned before, by having good relation to the one next to you of the angels, or your qareen from the angels. And on the other hand, the nafs, you may cut it down, have the least required matter of it, according to what has been instructed by him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and this is going to be quite helpful to you. I'm going to give example of it, The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "ما ملأ ابن آدم وعاء شرا من بطن فإن كان ولا محالة بحسب ابن آدم لقيمات يقمن صلبا فإن كان ولا محالة فثلث لطعامه وثلث لشراب ثلث لنفسه." That's mean that the worst container to be filled is your belly or abdomen, okay, and enough for you is few bites, to survive. If you need more, you should have by 1/3, of it food, 1/3 of it, liquids, and 1/3 of them, as air or whatever. Here you have this study, this done by an Egyptian physician here in the US, he had the mice, I'm sorry to tell you, that all animals, they have full stomach, and whenever they have full stomach, they will not, even if you force them, they will not eat anything extra. Humankind, there is no full stomach, Even if he has full stomach, he may eat a lot, more. So he studied these mice by calculating or by knowing the full stomach of them. He subdivided them to groups, put some of them in full stomach, some of in half stomach, some on 1/3, and the outcome of his result was that the most want to survive, they were the one with 1/3. Here I should ask myself, How did the Prophet ﷺ said, few bites? Then he said one thing. Are they contradicting with each other? No. Why? Because you have two components. You have your soul and you have your body. For your soul, the best thing to have few bites. For your body, to have one third, and you are stuck in the middle, between both of them. So, these four items, you should take care of them. I told you how to take care of sir, take care of ruh, take care of nafs. Then I did tell you about how to take care of your qalb, okay, by frequent recitation of Surah Yasin, because Yasin is qalb al-Quran and is going to be the best treatment, of the heart of the humankind. There is another treatment, of your heart mentioned by famous scholars, to have Ya Hayy Ya Qayyum La ilaha illa ant 40 or 41 times, between the Sunnat al-Fajr and Fajr prayer, okay? To have it 40 or 41 times. And we should have good care of them. We should be aware of them, This is going to make all of our spiritual skills, as much more superior. Move to next hadith. حدث المسعود عبد الله بن الحبش عن محمد بن عبد الكريم الفارسي عن الميانشي عن ابي الفتح بن ابي القاسم السهل الهروي عن احمد بن عبد الصمد عن عبد الجبار محمد عن محمد بن احمد عن عيسى عن ابي عيسى الترمذي. This is the famous Tirmidhi, and his student is المحبوبي. عن احمد بن منيع عن كثير بن هشام عن جعفر بن برقان عن حبيب بن ابي مرزوق عن عطاء بن ابي رباح عن ابي مسلم الخولاني عن معاذ بن جبل قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول قال الله عز وجل المتحابون في جلالي لهم منابر من نور يربطهم النبيون والشهداء.
33rd Hadith. Mu'adh ibn Jabal reported, I heard the Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, God, ever mighty and majestic is He, says, those who love one another in my majesty shall have a raised dais of light which will be the envy of prophets and martyrs.
Okay. I think part of this hadith was mentioned before. What I want to specify here, that that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned two of the three high groups that we know. We have An-Nabiyyin, we have As-Siddiqin, we have Ash-Shuhada. Here we are missing As-Siddiqin, we have An-Nabiyyin and Shuhada. And the reason behind it, as mentioned by some scholars, that As-Siddiqin, they are not well known in this life. And that's why they are going to have happy time, in the hereafter. Whereas An-Nabiyyin and Ash-Shuhada, they have a lot of responsibility for intercession, for other activity. That's why, you have the missing intermediate, item, in this particular hadith. And this is also mentioned, you may match it, with the Holy Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Zumar, وَجِيءَ بِالنَّبِيِّينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَقُضِيَ بَيْنَهُم بِالْقِسْطِ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. وَقُضِيَ بَيْنَهُم. This is for some dispute, for some controversial matter, for some problem, perhaps wrongdoing, from other person or whatever. And these are the one who are in charge, to take care of these matters, the prophets, and the shuhada. The shuhada, to best of my knowledge, not only those who were killed, in the sake of Allah, they are part of them, but this is a rank, maybe considered, for many persons, even some of the person who died, in their beds, like we have mentioned, about when the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who died because of diarrhea, the one who died of massive burning, the one who died, all of them, they were counted, as shuhada. And one of the resources, who piled up 40 different types, of shuhada, was Ibn Abdin in his Hashia, when he mentioned this in a fiqh book. Move to next hadith. حدثنا أبو طاهر السلفي عن أبي الفتح أحمد محمد عن إسماعيل بن ينال عن أبي العباس بن أحمد again this is المحبوبي عن أبي عيسى بن ثورة this is الترمذي عن عبد الله بن معاوية عن عبد العزيز مسلم عن أبي ظلال عن أنس بن مالك قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يقول إذا أخذت كلمتي عبدي في الدنيا لم يكن له جزاء عندي إلا الجنة.
34th Hadith. According to Anas ibn Malik, the Messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, said, God says, if I deprive my servant of his 2 eyes in this lower world, I shall give him in compensation nothing less than paradise.
I would like the translation of deprive. We have many matters of deprivation in this life. Many of these deprivation we don't like, and we see how great is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absolute, has the full right to do whatever He wants to do. All of these matters, all of my strength, they belong to Him, and He may do whatever He wants in this matter, Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His just, out of His kindness, out of His mercy, whatever is taken away from any person, which is going to be dramatic, or deprivation or whatever of that regard in his case, he's going to have reward. And that's why you should have full confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you shouldn't accuse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any of those that you feel is a negative, action done to you, and rather than asking why and why and why, say Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. Move to the next hadith. حدثنا مسعود عن الله بدر بن عبد الله الحبشي عن محمد القاسم عن ميان الشيخ عن عبد الملك بن سهل الهروي عن محمود بن القاسم عن عبد الجبار بن محمد عن محمد بن أحمد المحبوبي عن أبي عيسى الترمذي عن سويد عن ابن المبارك عن يحيى بن عبيد الله قال سمعت أبي يقول سمعت أبا هريرة يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يخرج في آخر الزمان رجال يختلون الدنيا بالدين يلبسون للناس جلود الضأن من اللين ألسنتهم أحلى من العسل وقلوبهم قلوب الذئاب يقول الله أبي يغترون أم علي يجترئون فبي حلفت لأبعثن على أولئك منهم فتنة تدع الحليم منهم حيران.
35th Hadith. According to Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, said, there will emerge at the end of time men who deceive the world through religion. They will dress up for men in sheep's clothing to display meekness, and their tongues will be sweeter than honey, but their hearts will be the hearts of wolves. And God will say, are they trying to deceive me, or are they acting insolently towards me? By me, I swear I shall send upon these people such a trial as will leave even the mildest tempered of them in utter confusion.
Personally, I may be right or wrong, I feel we are in real need of this particular hadith nowadays, because we are deceived, Firstly, we have a lot of masks on all of our face, We smile, we speak nicely, we do this, we do that, but I'm speaking about myself. We don't have that pure heart, that great heart, toward everyone. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, no benefit, in the hereafter for money or for wealth or children, except those who have the peaceful, the secure heart, or the pure heart toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why one of our main tasks, or perhaps the most important task, in this life, to have this purification of the heart. Okay, we have many factors, they are negative. We have many factors, they are positive, and we should work hard, to get rid of those negative factors, and try to apply to our practice those positive factors, to improve our hearts. I mentioned previously, I mentioned about some of the items to improve your heart. Okay. This is against the tradition of our Prophet, because his wife, Sayyidah Salama, she was asked to describe him, and she said, كَانَ سِرُّهُ وَعَلَانِيَّتُهُ سَوَاء. He was from the inner and the outer the same. Try to practice this. Perhaps it's going to be difficult on me or whatever, but try to get closer to the prophetic practice or tradition, And here you have those people, described in this particular hadith. They are completely different than the real Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you find that the outcome from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is going to test them, tempted them by a trial. تَدَعُ الْحَلِيمَ حَيْرَانٍ. They spoke about temper here. I think al-halim here, it means those who have the deep experience and deep look, and the wise person, to decide, and they are going to be astounded, by those tests, I don't know if our time, is applicable for this. I think our time is applicable, because of many factors, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from these temptations. Move to next hadith. Hadith says this was ثلاثون. حدثنا محمد بن قاسم حدثنا أبو طاهر أحمد بن محمد عن أبي الفتح محمد بن محمد عن إسماعيل بن يلال عن محمد بن أحمد. This again المحبوب عن أبي عيسى الترمذي. As you may observe that many of these hadiths came from Tirmidhi, and really Tirmidhi, one of the unique things about his book, that has massive different collection, and that's why it was described by Imam Tirmidhi as the one who has this book in his house as if he has Nabiyyun yatakallam, a prophet speaking there. Why? Because when this is my expectation, when you have a prophet speaking, is going to speak about different subjects, It's not going to concentrate on fiqh like Sunan Abi Dawud. It's not going to concentrate on anything else. And that's why perhaps this is one of the reasons that you have toward the end of this body text, most of the hadiths come from Sunan Tirmidhi, عن أبي عيسى الترمذي عن سويد عن المبارك عن إسماعيل بن مسلم عن الحسن وقتادة عن أنس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: يجاء ابن آدم يوم القيامة كأنه بلج فيوقف بين يدي الله فيقول الله: أعطيتك وخولتك وأنعمت عليك فماذا صنعت؟ فيقول: جمعته وثمرته وتركته أكثر ما كان فارجعني آتك به. فيقول: أرني ما قدمت. فيقول: ربي جمعته وثمرته وتركت أكثر ما كان فارجعني آتك به. فإذا عبد لم يقدم خيرا فيمضى به إلى النار.
36 Hadith. According to Anas, the Prophet, may God give him blessings and peace, said, on the day of resurrection, the child of Adam will arrive like a lamb and stand before God, who will say to him, I gave you gifts, I furnished you with good, I bestowed favors upon you, and what have you done? He will reply, I have gathered them up, I have made them multiply, and I've left them more abundant than before. Let me return to the world, and I shall bring them to you. Then God will say, show me what you have brought out. He will reply, my Lord, I have gathered it up, I have made it multiply, and I have left it more abundant than before. Let me return, and I shall bring it to you. And if a servant does not bring out anything good, he will be sent to the fire.
Again, I have mentioned this before. You have a golden opportunity now, because you are alive, and most of us, our future is going to be decided now, upon our deeds, and upon our activities, And you see, when he said "bazaj" or "lamb," it was translated. You see, all of those figures that we try to deceive ourselves, by them, in this life, they are going to be gone away, and we are going to be by our reality, shown to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shown to everyone. And that person, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him significant favors, he did not make them work, to him to be saved, of hellfire, And this is one of the meaning of tamam al-ni'mah that I have mentioned yesterday. Move to another hadith, الحديث السابع والثلاثون. حدثنا مسعود عبد الله بن بدر الحبشي عن محمد بن قاسم عن عمر بن عبد المجيد عن عبد الملك بن القاسم الهروي عن الأورجي عن أبي محمد الجراحي عن محمد بن أحمد عن أبي عيسى عن سويد عن المبارك عن أبي حيان التيمي عن أبي زرعة عن أبي هريرة عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في شأن يوم القيامة فأقول يا رب أمتي يا رب أمتي يا رب أمتي فيقول يا محمد أدخل من أمتك من لا حساب عليه من الباب الأيمن من أبواب الجنة وهم شركاء الناس فيما سوى ذلك من الأبواب.
37th Hadith. According to Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, said concerning the day of resurrection, I shall cry, my community, O Lord, my community, O Lord, my community, O Lord. God will reply, O Muhammad, Bring in those of your community who have nothing to account for through the right gate of the gates of paradise. They are the equals of other men who will enter paradise with respect to the other gates.
When the Prophet ﷺ say, "Oh my God, my community," I think the least thing to be done from our side to connect ourselves to the Prophet ﷺ. To say, "Jazakallahu anna khayran ya Sayyidi ya Rasulullah." Okay, because his main concern, and this was not for everyone, because with high respect of all prophets, they will not have the same attitude that you have from the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, then this is a miracle of the Prophet. Why? Because he mentioned the number 70,000. He was criticized by some people, ugly people, in his time. Your follower they are not 70,000. You see, now we have more than 1 billion, Muslim nowadays. Okay, and we have this item, which is the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot imagine it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to let some of the people go to paradise without reckoning, بغير حساب. Okay, and in the authentic hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, 70,000, and in some narrations 700,000, and some weak narration which each one of them 70,000, and then Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq said, "Ask for more, Ya Rasulullah," and he said, "Was each one 70,000? I don't know the multiplication, how much." And then he said, 3 bunches, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bunches, And Sayyidina Umar said, "Kafa ya Abu Bakr, this is enough, He said, what's wrong, with you, Umar, if all of us, we enter heaven, or paradise without reckoning?" And Sayyidina Umar did say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the full capacity to make us all enter by one bunch, from him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet stopped there and said, "Sadaqa Umar." This is not sound, I think. I think this is weak hadith, but this to give you the idea. This idea has been erupted. Some areas in the Quran has been explained by the Prophet ﷺ about the real number of 70,000 or 700,000 or more, as we mentioned, And you see, subhanallah, I look at it as a miracle of the Prophet ﷺ, because he was criticized in that particular time that your follower, they are not equal to 70,000. You see the difference, that nowadays. Okay, and here we have the massive entrance to Jannah, by different gates. It's mentioned one authentic hadith that they are 8 gates, and their special gate, to heaven, this only for those people, the 77, and they are going to share the rest, with the rest of the people. Move to Hadith الثامن والثلاثون. حدثنا يوسف بن يحيى عن أبي الفتوح محمد بن علي الطائي عن محمد بن يعقوب الأصم عن محمد بن عبد الله بن أعين عن أبيه وشعيب عن ليس عن ابن الهادي عن عمرو عن عبد الرحمن بن حويرث عن محمد بن جبير عن عبد الرحمن بن عوف قال: دخلت المسجد فرأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خارجا من المسجد فاتبعته أمشي وراءه ولا يشعر بي، ثم دخل نخلا فاستقبل القبلة فسجد فأطال السجود أنا وراءه حتى ظننت أن الله عز وجل توفاه، فأقبلت أمشي حتى جئت فطأطأت رأسي أنظر في وجهه فرفع رأسه فقال: ما لك يا عبد الرحمن؟ فقلت: لما أطلت السجود يا رسول الله خشيت أن يكون الله عز وجل توفى نفسه، فجئت أنظر فقال: إني لما رأيتني دخلت النخل لقيت جبرائيل عليه السلام فقال: أبشرك أن الله تعالى يقول: من سلم عليك سلمت عليه ومن صلى عليك صليت عليه.
38 Hadith. Abdurrahman ibn Auf reported, I entered the mosque and I saw the Messenger of God leaving. I followed him, walking after him without him noticing me. Shortly afterwards, he went into a palm grove, turning towards the Qibla and prostrated. His prostration lasted such a long time as I waited behind him that I began to wonder if God had caused him to die. So I approached him and bent down to look at his face. He raised his head and said, What's the matter, Abdurrahman? O Messenger of God, I replied, when you made such a long prostration, I feared that God, ever mighty and majestic as He, had taken your soul, and so I came to look. The Prophet declared, when you saw me enter the palm grove, I met Gabriel, upon him be peace, who said to me, I bring you tidings of joy. God, ever exalted as He, says to you, he who greets you with peace, him shall I greet with peace. He who blesses you, him shall I bless.
This is one of the channels, one of the way to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by having a plenty of salawat of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this is another item that has been mentioned here. You have the least of it, mentioned in one hadith mentioned by Tabarani. Whenever you have 10 of them, in the morning and 10 of the evening, you are going to gain the intercession of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You may go further. You have Friday. In Friday, you should have plenty of them, much more than this, And here, as I said before, you have the guarantee from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have the salah from Allah, you have the salam from Allah, you have 10 hasana, you have 10 sayyah erased, and you have 10 different steps, going to be granted for you by one salah. And there's by sound hadith, Muslim Imam Ahmad, whenever you have one salah, you are going to have 70 from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Move to the next hadith. الحديث 39. حدثنا مسعود عبد الله بدر الحبشي عن محمد بن عبد الكريم عن الميانشي عن ابي فتح الهروي عن ابي نصر الترياق عن عبد الجبار محمد عن محمد بن احمد. This again محبوبي عن ابي عيسى محمد الثورة. This is الترمذي. حدث علي بن خشرم حدث على عيسى بن يونس عن ابراهيم بن ابي زائد عن ابي عن ابي غالب خالد الوالبي عن ابي هريره عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ان الله تعالى يقول ابن ادم تفرغ بعبادتي املا صدرك غنى واسد فقرك والا تفعل ملأت يديك سؤلا ولم اسد فقرك.
39th Hadith. According to Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, may God give him blessings and peace, said, God, ever exalted as He, says, O child of Adam, devote yourself exclusively to my worship, and I shall fill your breasts with riches and preserve you from poverty. If you do not do this, I shall fill your hands with labor and preserve you not from poverty.
And here we have some wording, poverty and richness. You have some meaning of it and some meaning given to us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do we mean by richness? To have in old days the bucket, full of currency. Nowadays the banking account, okay, and poverty, the one who doesn't have it, The Prophet ﷺ did say in one hadith, ليس الغنى عن كثرة المال والعوض ولكن الغنى غنى النفس. Here we are speaking about poverty and richness from different view, which is the most important one in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's standard, because He told us about it, here. We, according to this standard, I don't know all of your people, but majority of us, we are poor, even though we may sound that we are rich, and you have very rich person, sometimes, And I'm going to bring this story just to make it much more clear, in your mind. A very poor person was sitting there, and a rich man brought to him plenty of golden coins. That person said, sorry, I don't need them. No, take them. I don't need them. He put them in his lap. What did that poor person do? He just splashed them, Okay? And the rich man went running, to collect them, from the floor. Tell me who is the poor and who is the rich. Okay? And this has been highlighted by the prophets. In the time which they were in real need, of food, of everything, some of the companion from certain country, he brought some coins, golden coins. And the Prophet ﷺ, right away, he climbed the pulpit telling, whatever so and so have brought is exactly the same like the stones you have it outside. That's what he said, okay? And just I would like from myself and from the others to change our look, to this. We have this hadith number 40. حدثنا مسعود عبد الله بن بدر الحبشي عن ابي طاهر السلفي عن ابي الفتح محمد عن اسماعيل بن ينان عن ابي العباس بن احمد. Again, this is محبوبي عن ابي عيسى محمد بن عيسى بن ثورة الترمذي famous one عن سفيان بن وكيع عن اسماعيل بن محمد بن جحادة عن عبد الجبار بن عباس عن ابي اسحاق عن الاغر ابي مسلم قال اشهد على ابي سعيد وابي هريره انهما شهدا على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من قال. Listen, try to remember these points, or these sentences. من قال لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر صدقه ربه وقال لا إله إلا أنا وأنا أكبر. وإذا قال لا إله إلا الله وحده قال يقول الله لا إله إلا أنا وأنا وحدي. وإذا قال لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له قال الله لا إله إلا أنا وحدي لا شريك لي. وإذا قال لا إله إلا الله له الملك وله الحمد قال الله لا إله إلا أنا لي الملك ولي الحمد. وإذا قال لا إله إلا الله ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله قال الله لا إله إلا أنا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بي. وكان يقول من قالها في مرضه ثم مات لم تطعمه النار. تمت ال40. قال عبد الفقير رضي الله تعالى محمد بن علي بن محمد بن عبد العربي عفى الله عنه وعن والديه وإخوته وأصحابه وجميع المسلمين. انتهت ال40 على ما أشرته ويسر الله فيها وأحسن العون وأسندتها إلى الله تعالى كما ذكرت. وأكثر ما خرجت عنه من أصحابنا رويت هذه الأحاديث عن الشيخ الذي حدثوني بها عنه، ولكن قصدت بذلك أن أجعل لهم ذكرا في نقلة الوحي وأنظمهم في سلك العلماء لحديث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وأنا أذكر الأربعين المرفوعة إلى من الإسناد إلى الجزء الأول.
40th Hadith. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abu Hurairah both testify that the Prophet, may God give him blessings and peace, said, whoever says there is no God but God and God is greater, his Lord confirms his truthfulness and says there is no God but me and
Sorry for interruption, but here I don't like that translation. Say La ilaha illallah Allahu Akbar. Okay, say it, because I don't think it's difficult. But anyway, it's explaining to you the real meaning of it.
Whoever says La ilaha illallah and Allahu Akbar, his Lord confirms his truthfulness and says, there is no God but me and I am the great. And if he says La ilaha illallah wahdah, God says there is no God but me alone. And if he says La ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah, God says there is no God but me alone and I have no partner. And if he says La ilaha illallah lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, God says, there is no God but me, mine is the kingdom and mine the praise. And if he says, La ilaha illallah wahdah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, God says, there is no God but me, and there is no power nor strength save through me. The Prophet used to say, whoever says this in his illness and then dies, him the fire shall not consume. The servant who is in utter need of God, Muhammad ibn Ali Muhammad ibn al-Arabi, may God forgive him and his parents, his brothers, his companions, and all the Muslims, says, the 40 hadith are completed according to what I have recorded. May God give ease and the best of health by means of them, together with, as I mentioned, chains of transmission going directly back to God, going directly back to God the High. Most of them I have collected from my companions, and I have transmitted them on the authority of the teacher from whom they themselves received them. In so doing, I wish to mention their place in the transmission of the revelation, that they may also be placed in the line of the knowers of hadith of the Messenger of God. That they may also be placed in the line of the knowers of hadith of the Messenger of God. May God's blessing and peace be upon him. I shall now proceed to cite 40 traditions going back to God, but without chains of transmission.
Lastly, I think everyone should be happy, about this comment, come from that sheikh. He said, most of these ahadith, I have them through the higher sheikh, but I included my companion there just to make them, included in those who are transmitter, of the revelation, and those who are scholar, in the hereafter. You see, you got it in very easy way, regardless that you sacrifice, this weekend, you are, inshallah, now, you are one of those carrier, of this revelation, and this is, I may not know the importance of it, but such a great person, they know the importance of it. I'm going to tell you about this story. I have a person who was a student of a famous Sufi person, he came to me, he said, I just want to recite some Quran on you, just to be of the carrier, of this revelation in the hereafter, and this instruction was given to him by his sheikh. Okay, you got it, in very easy way. You should firstly, recognize the honor of it, and secondly, you should be responsible for this unique, duty that has been put in your neck. Okay. Then, if I want to comment, about this last hadith, how I'm going to get all of these 5 items, toward my disease of death, and this, I think, by keep repeating them, especially when you get sick, hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you to remember them, but whenever the time is to go. By this we finish the 40 hadith. I think we have the last session, I'm going to, at the beginning of it, to run over the text again for those who have missed any of the hadith, and I leave the rest of the time for questions. Feel free to ask. I'm going to give the priority for the question regarding our subject, then feel free to ask anything. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
We'll be having a 10-minute break right now. We'll be back at 4:30, inshallah.